Alright, what's up guys? How's it going? So this is going to be our first build guide video of 3.8 Blight. Uh, this league is friggin' awesome. I'm really enjoying it. And I'm really enjoying the changes that they've made to Poison. So, in proper fashion, this is Poison. My Cobra Lash crit assassin with a little bit of Plague Bearer thrown in, and we'll talk about that in a second. But we are using mandatory uniques are Beanos. That's it. The only reason this is mandatory is because it's super good. Killing a poison enemy, nearby enemies are also poison. That counts as an instance of poison for our Plague Bearer. So every time a poison like that spreads, it gives us everything around it as far as poison, which allows us to stack up our Plague Bearer extremely quickly. Alright, so let's just go through the gems real quick. Main link is Cobra Lash, added Chaos damage, Void Manipulation, Nightblade support, and lesser multiple projectiles. End game damage, once everything is built out properly, you'll actually drop Nightblade, and you'll swap in for Deadly Ailments and Unbound Ailments, which I'm not leveling at the moment. So Deadly Ailments and Unbound Ailments will replace Nightblade and be your 6th link. The POB for this, we're coming in at just around 1,100,000 damage on this build, even with this gear. Not with crazy mirror-worthy shenanigans, nothing. It's just, and it's really cheap. The most expensive part is probably going to be your Beanos, and then Dendrobrate is preferred, but you can just use any rare chest with good life and resistances. Stygian Vise is always going to be best in slot because they're ridiculous. And then in here, anything that gives you life, crit, flat chaos damage, damage over time, damage if you killed recently, etc. is going to be really good. So we got this one for the crit, life, and damage. For your normal jewels in your tree, you're going to want to go with something along the lines of damage, life, damage over time, chaos damage over time multiplier, stuff like that. So anything that boosts damage over time, damage with daggers, because Beanos is a dagger, that's the kind of combinations you're going to want. You're going to want to prioritize life, and any of those really is going to add to your poison damage, because poison scales off of the hit. So here's a quick look at the tree. Still haven't gotten my final trial for Uber Lab, but we'll be taking Deadly Infusion. So first off, you want normal lab to Noxus Strike. This is really, really good. Each poison, duration for each poison you've inflicted recently. It makes your poisons last forever, which is really, really good. Per poison affecting enemies you kill. Really helps with survivability. You can still get one shot because this is an evasion-based character, but that's kind of what you get playing an assassin. Toxic Delivery is really good. Critical Strike Poison is a 50% more multiplier. This is pretty mandatory. That's ridiculous. Flat crit strike chance per poison up to 2%, which is also nuts, and physical as extra chaos against poison enemies. So as you can see right here, our chaos damage is stacked pretty high, so that's with all of the extra damage that we get from our physical and our flat chaos damage, etc. So you're scaling as much chaos as you can, and Cobra Lash is ridiculous. We are using LMP in our Cobra Lash instead of GMP, because right now it changed so many times that you're going to hit groups of 15, 20 things, and usually by the time you attack again, everything dies, spreads poison, so you don't really need the added lesser multiplier onto your Cobra Lash damage. LMP is plenty, right? So first off, as far as tree goes, you're going to come here, get all this chaos physical damage, come up here, grab the crit. Lethal Assault is great because projectile speed does help Cobra Lash feel a little bit better. Come down here for resourcefulness, and then Fangs of the Viper is just OP. Entropy is really good. You're going to come down here, grab this dagger wheel right here. You're going to come across, grab this dagger wheel. Again, this is all poison-based stuff, so daggers are really good. When we get a few more levels, we're going to grab this life and evasion wheel. Fatal Toxins, up through Blood Drinker, Jewel Sockets. If you can, grab those power charges, guys. Those are super great for this build, and they give us more crit and crit multi on top of the normal bonuses that they give because of our Assassin Ascendancy. Backstabbing is outstanding. Up through Flaying, this is outstanding as well. We are doing acro phase acro on this character because we're currently using Nightblade, which makes us elusive. So essentially what we end up having is extra crit, and then elusive grants us chance to dodge spells, I believe it is. Let's see. Am I crazy? Yes. So elusive makes you elusive, right? So it's really good to stack up with these, but we might drop these when we drop Nightblade, and allocate those points into more dagger nodes, into more life. Eventually we want to come down here and grab Swift Venoms. This is really, really good, and it's only one travel point away from where we want. I did anoint on my amulet with Toxic Strikes because it's cheap, it's really good, extra chaos damage with attack skills, and damage over time multiplier for poison are crazy. So those two affixes on this notable are really what you want Toxic Strikes for. So I put that on a crit life, all res, crafted some chaos damage. So this is pretty solid. I'll probably keep this for quite a while. But we are dual wielding, so you can come down here and grab Twin Terrors, grab this life, and then just spin a couple points in path to this and anoint something else if you want. One of my buddies also came down and grabbed Point Blank, and I might actually follow his lead with that because that is a more multiplier, and even though Cobra Lash is a projectile, you're kind of up in people's business while you're using this skill. So that's why the elusive is kind of nice and the dodge is really helpful. Then we pathed over here, grabbed another jewel socket. This is getting replaced. On these, you're going to want life, damage over time, and flat chaos damage if you can find it. Anything with daggers or anything like that is going to be what you want. Perfect Agony is great for this since we are going crit. It really makes our poisons pop, which is nice. Harrier is great just because it's attack speed and move speed for 1 point. We're going to grab these life eventually. We did come down here to the Scion life wheel to pick up some extra resistances. 18% attack speed, which is pretty good, and then come over to Constitution to grab the life in here. I thought about pathing back out of this, but in all honesty, the reflexes, the global accuracy, the resistances, some extra strength, which is really nice to have just for gear and gems and stuff for a castable damage taken setup, etc. So this is a pretty efficient pathing, but eventually we do want to grab this wheel, come down here and grab these 3 skills on the right for damage over time multiplier. So that's the tree. We're also going to fill those out and maybe grab this jewel socket. And by then, we'll be about level 93. I will link all that in the description for POB. So gear, Beanos, helmet, just as much life, resistance, little accuracy helps a lot. On the helmet, as far as amulet, any kind of crit, life, resistance with an open craft prefix for the chaos damage is going to be best in slot. I did pick up one of these for 25 chaos. There's a few different variations on these, but this one's pretty solid. What you want is the chaos damage while affected by Herald of Agony, because that's just free chaos damage. It's like taking the entire chaos damage wheel, or all of this, instantly. So 10, 20, 30, 40. So it's like 4 points on one of the strongest chaos wheels on a ring, which is nuts. And I went back and forth with this, and the Herald of Agony buff effect is actually extremely strong, because if we look, our Herald of Agony, not only does it give us chance to poison, which doesn't matter because we're at 100% anyway, but it grants more poison damage, right? So with 10% on the skill itself, having a buff effect of 76% gives us just over 6.5 to 7 without mathing it out exactly. So it gives us like 7 or 8 more damage on top of the flat chaos damage, on top of the increased chaos damage. So it's just really freaking strong. Any kind of high fizz dagger with some crit on it is going to be really, really good. Ideally, you'd have some physical chaos on a dagger. See if you can swing that. I'm not sure if you can cast flat chaos on daggers, so I'll have to check. But anyway, Dendrobate is great for this, because once it's 6-linked, it's going to give us a foe 7, and the lesser poison that comes inherent on the chest actually gives us more flat chaos damage, which scales our chaos, which scales our poison, etc. So you see how it kind of snowballs and all kind of meshes together really well. and its great resistance is you're always going to have 300 dexterity and at least 150 int. Super easy to do, just pathing through the area over here. So you don't need to super prioritize it on gear unless you pop to it super early, and then you can just refund those passives later. So that's going to be really, really strong. Any kind of move speed, life, boots, these are pretty garbage. These are also pretty garbage. So all this gear is upgradable, maybe not the amulet. So 6 link, Beano's, and amulet, and this ring are probably the only 3 things that are not going to change other than getting a 6 link. So that's the overarch, guys. 82. So let's look at our Cobra Lash real quick. So we're at 95% chance to hit. Let's see, critical strike chance at 53 without power charges, and then 408 crit multi. We got 3200 life, but it doesn't become a super big problem because we can just Whirling Blades out of most shenanigans that we get stuck in. So I'm still developing my Atlas, but we'll jump in and do this T5. As long as this doesn't have Fizz Reflect on it, that would suck. What a ripperoo that would be. Woo, I didn't one-shot myself. So as you can see, this is what I wanted to talk about next. Plague Bearer. So I attacked twice, just off into the distance, or I guess it was that way. And look at how fast my Plague Bearer stacked up, right? So it's almost maxed already. So Plague Bearer is a new gem that is really, really interesting, and it actually is extremely helpful for this build. Just help clean up trash, increase clear speed, etc. So what it does is it stacks up, and once it reaches its max stack, it gets a more multiplier. It gets a 20% more multiplier when you activate it at max stack. So you want to stack it all the way up and then activate it. And it does that max stack damage for as long as the number up here is above 0. So let me show you. So you'll pop it, you'll see it'll start going down, and it creates this aura around you that does crazy dot damage, right? So it lasts for a pretty decent amount of time and then ceases once you hit 0. Then you attack something again, poison some stuff a few times. Here, hold on. Yeah, look, I cleared that whole section. So here. And as you can see, look it, we're already back at max stacks. So let me show you guys what kind of damage this does. We are using Withering Step to kind of increase our Plague Bearer damage as well as our just general poison damage, just kind of passively. And then Whirling Blades is our main move skill. So let me show you guys without attacking. Let's just... And this is kind of the damage you can expect out of it. It just kind of kills stuff. Like, can you just run around and then you attack something a few times and it pops. But this is kind of how the build plays. You stack up your poisons, you pop Plague Bearer, and off you go. And everything just kind of dies around you. Very similar to how, for those of you that watched my Death's Oath Witch character, it plays very similarly to that. So as you can see, it just cleans up. Even standing in the middle of stuff, we're not taking a lot of damage, letting that acro and phase acro really do a lot of the work for us. And every once in a while you get bapped because you stand on a super juicy lightning ball. But that's what you get for 3200 life in Assassin. It happens, you're going to die occasionally. But it's a really, really cool way to stack up and play with the new poison skills. And Assassin is actually pretty strong. So you can usually just throw one group of daggers and everything just kind of dies. And it all ricochets and then the poisons spread. And it's super, super nice to map around with. One thing that you want to make sure that you do is make sure to, when you jump into a map for the first time, you click your Plague Bearer skill, right? So this isn't inherently up there. You have to activate it before it starts gathering stuff. So we'll gather up some poison. There we go. So it stacks up extremely quickly, but let me show you kind of a little bit of the boss damage that you can expect. Keep those guys alive for a little bit. So that's kind of the damage you can expect out of it with super budget gear. Like all other builds on my channel, I try and make these builds doable to people who don't have time to sit and grind every day, right? Anybody can be like, oh yeah, it'd be so great to do a Wind Ripper with a Headhunter and all this, but that's just not feasible to most people. So I really do try and keep my builds more on the budget side so people can utilize them and just enjoy them without having to crank out nothing but time. So let me show you what this looks like with the new Blight content. This is actually an extremely good build for the Blight content simply because the way that Beano spreads poisons, right? So let me show you guys kind of what to expect. Alright, so we'll go over here. So let's put one of those right there, and I am doing the I'm finishing out some of the achievements, so we'll do that real quick. So this start blight encounter is nice because you can either set up some totems or none at all. And then you just kind of sit here, and you can see those poisons continuing to spread even when stuff comes in. So you get large groups like this, and it just cleans them up really, really nicely. You kind of just bounce around, throw a couple. And this is still only with LMP, without any kind of enchantment, without any kind of anything like that. So it does make it really nice. And if some get away, you can pop your Plague Bearer and just run the lanes, and everything just dies. Which is another reason why Plague Bearer is really nice to use on this kind of a thing. And then you just throw a couple, and it stacks back up, and then you just run down and clean everything back up again. So it's super, super nice for the Blight content. It's really fun to play with. It's really fun to map with. The character is still developing, so if you enjoyed the video, if you enjoy the build, if this looks like something that you would want to play, keep an eye out on that POB that I'm going to put in the description, because I will continually keep that updated throughout the league. All right, so one more thing I wanted to go over is the auras. We are running a precision. Herald of Agony, you can link to things, but that just increases the reservation on your mana. Ideally, this is not a Herald of Agony build per se, but it does give us a nice little extra chunk of damage from the minion itself. How fast we stack poisons, you get up to 40 stacks of virulence extremely quickly, so highly recommend that. And if you have the space and you want to put some more mana on, reserve some more mana, you can link it with vicious projectiles and any kind of projectile based something that gives added damage. Withering Touch is a good one because it scales physical, and then it gives it a lot of added chaos while also applying Wither. So use those if you're going to link up with your Herald of Agony. We are running Despair on a Blasphemy. Ideally, you would get these on a pair of gloves. Despair on hit would be really, really strong, maybe on a pair of Oscarums, or even Tomb Fists would be extremely good. So Despair, super great, gives you more flat chaos damage against cursed enemies, stacking up flat chaos damage from the lesser poison, from the added chaos gem, from the Despair, and from our Dendrobait. So that's kind of the idea. It's super, super fun. Right now, 18k sheet, but we're mainly focused on the poisons. So check out the POB down below. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions, let me know if I missed anything. I don't think I did. Just normal bleed flask, instant flasks, some move speed flasks, and then Whirling Blades, faster attacks is main links that you want to worry about. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Ooh, I almost forgot cosmetics. So we are using the new Lich cosmetics. I think it looks freaking awesome with the poison. I thoroughly enjoy it. I think it looks badass. For Pantheons, actually, what you're probably going to want is Soul of the Brine King. So that way you don't get chain stunned, and eventually you want to upgrade it to the Pirate Lord so you can't get chain frozen. That's extremely good. The Soul of Arakali is also kind of good for the extra chaos resistance and stuff. Soul of Rizlatha is a great one. Helps refill your instant flasks. Helps refill everything if you're on a map or doing a boss that's specifically just not a lot of minions around to generate flash charges. I recommend Soul of Rizlatha, but you can kind of move these around. There's no specific, oh wow, this one's so good over this one, but I would recommend Garakhan is also a pretty good one for move speed. So you are evasive, gives you a little bit faster, but there you go. So that's that. There's the cosmetics. There's the skills. There's the stuff. There's everything. Enjoy, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.